Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Outlook. I'm Luke Anthony, and for this week I was joined by Darcie Silver. But just before I dive into that conversation, I just need to say thank you for everyone who listened to the episode last week with President Obonjo, all the ratings, all of the listens and the views that we got from it. It was absolutely fantastic. We really enjoyed doing it, and it was completely organic. We hadn't planned anything. I didn't really know what to expect. I've seen his act before, really enjoyed it, and it just turned out that we did the whole thing in character, and it was phenomenal, and I really enjoyed it. So if you do enjoy the podcast, please do give it a 5-star rating and hit a nice review there as well. It does really help. Us podcasters keep asking for reviews and all that sort of stuff, but it's just because the more people that rate it, the more people can listen to it, and that's really important for us. But today I'm joined by Darcie Silver. She's just an absolute class act. I don't know how else to describe her. She speaks about being a transgender woman in such an intellectual but comedic way, puts light on such a difficult issue, especially as she's struggled with it for so many years. She's known that she was in the wrong body since the age of 3, which is so young. She's already been a finalist at the LGBTQ Comedian of the Year and the Southport Comedian of the Year as well. And she's even been endorsed by such a brilliant comedian, probably the best joke writer in the country at the moment, and that's Gary Delaney. She's obviously well respected, and if she's this good now, then I can't imagine how good she's going to be in the next couple of years. So anyway, please welcome to the show, Darcie Silver. So you started off as a writer predominantly, didn't you?
Yeah, I wrote for a long time. I was very troubled as a kid, and you know how like some kids will lock themselves away and play the guitar? I just wrote comedy, I don't know why, but I did. So I wrote it for a long time. It's like my just creative output, really.
Okay. And so what sort of things were you writing about when you first started writing?
It's just like little stand-up things, puns and little jokes. And when I was about 14, I wrote a sitcom that was so bad it was good, and then bad again. I mean, I found it. It was on an old hard drive in a really old computer in my parents' garage, and the computer didn't turn on, but I cut out the hard drive, took it in and got it off. It's horrific.
It's horrific. So it's not one you're going to submit for a Netflix special or anything?
No, but I pulled some jokes out of it.
You did? Okay.
I pulled some out.
I don't know about you, like when I used to write with like mental health and things like that, writing was one of my sort of go-to thing, like to kind of like put things into perspective, to get it from my mind onto a piece of paper, you know. And I don't know about you, whenever I always find it funny reading back something that I read while I was in maybe an episode, for example, and it makes you feel almost sick to my stomach. Like, what was I even thinking about that time? It's like if you're going through an episode and you look at an old tweet or an old Facebook post or something, you're like, did I really say that? I know I was young, but did I really say that?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in denial, when I was about 12, 13 years ago and beyond that, I was very keen to prove how much of a girl I wasn't. So I wrote the most awful, misogynistic crap. And it's not bad, it's just like 70s, that kind of, no, it's not even misogynistic, it's just stupid.
Was it meant to be ironic misogyny?
Yeah, it wasn't really misogyny, I should take that back. It's more like, typical man humour, just talking about.
Okay, very stereotypical kind of, we've got big cocks, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of really trying to prove a point. And so it's totally useless, and it's so obvious what I was trying to do, when I read it back, I'm like, so bloody hell, it screams denial. So it's just in a file on my computer.
Never to be seen again, never to make it until you're a big name and you the Sun try and do this massive feature on try and find anything that you've not released, and then
I know, could imagine.
Ruins your career overnight.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, it's like the what's the I never remember the name of it. There's a terrible film that George Clooney was in originally, something to do with tomatoes. That's the only part. That's the only profound part of that I remember. But yeah, about tomatoes. It was meant to, I voted the worst film in history. But now people watch it for irony, and it's hilarious because it is so awful.
Yeah, they make some on purpose, don't they? What's that shark one?
Jaws?
No, Sharkmageddon or something.
Oh, okay.
They made one that's really bad on purpose.
Oh, okay. But like Airplane was meant to be like that, but I quite like the ones where they make like genuine not say genuine, but fake continuity errors in them, where there's like you just see like a boom in the in the shot and things
Yeah.
like that. It's all there to make shoddy cinema. But so it says like so it's not a secret that you're a transgender woman. So you've known from a very young age that you didn't feel right in the body you were in.
Yeah, I knew when I was about 3.
That's really young.
I just knew, and it's very difficult. It's terrible, awful thing.
But
I shouldn't say it, but it's very difficult to live with. But
I imagine it is. I mean, I wouldn't understand. I'm currently illegal because I'm a straight white male, and it's just one of those things. But at 3, I can't imagine understanding like the difference between being a male and a female, let alone not feeling mentally okay with who you are.
yeah, it's like living in a never-ending pantomime. The way I describe it to people is like, if you really like football, imagine wearing your opponent's stuff, times that by 100. You just itch in your own skin. It's like, it's unbearable. You just feel like you're living in a never-ending lie, and it's just horrendous. And like I say, it's just like a pantomime that never ends, and eventually it just gets you. So you either come out or it kills people. It's got the highest suicide rate of any demographic. It's sickening how high it is, and it's just so difficult to live with. So I don't know. It's just like
I can't even begin to understand. One of the things about struggles and about the difficulties that people have gone through, the one thing that I do understand is that I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it feels. I understand how it feels to be sidelined, to feel like an outcast, but I don't understand how it feels to not feel like you belong anywhere at such a young age.
Yeah, but I don't think people can't relate to anything that's not in their that they don't experience. Like, I don't understand what it's like to be a gay man. I don't understand what it's like to be a straight white guy. Everything's like different, and that's sometimes people say, well, you're not a real woman because you never grew up as one. I'm like, well, you don't know what your experience is like of life compared to your friends. Everyone's experience is different. I only know what I am and what I've gone through and who I am, and that's just it. But I know I'm a woman. I've always known. And some people are born with an extra finger. 1 in 300's born with like mixed genitals. It's really common. It's just like I got a female brain. That's just the way it is.
So if you discovered this at 3 years old, and you hadn't even gone to school yet, how did you feel going to school?
It was horrendous. I moved school 5-6 times because I got badly bullied everywhere. And maybe that's where humour comes from. Because you use it as a tool. I think that's what people do. So in one way I'm grateful, but in another way, bullying never leaves you. It ruins you. And then I left school and ended up in a mental hospital. But this is very sad and depressing. And I'm completely fine now, honestly. I am. No, I really am. I'm stable. I'm fine. I'm just fine. But yeah, my childhood was pretty rough. And so I knew as a girl, but back then you couldn't be. It was like saying, I'm a cat. Back then it was just like, no, you're not. Stop being ridiculous, But then if you were born with mixed genitals, as so many are, they'd be like, oh, okay, we can see that it's mixed. So you can see it because you can't see brains. People are like, no, you're a boy and that's just it. It's like, well, no, I'm not. So then you have to live it like that. And then, you hit puberty and you want to fit in. You don't want to be bullied. So you go into this huge stage of denial. And then it just eats you up and you go crazy. And then you end up coming out and becoming a comedian.
That's the natural progression.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the schooling for comedy. There are no like formal qualifications for comedy, but being oppressed and struggling with life and not feeling like you belong is definitely a degree level. So how did your parents deal with it?
I think they dealt with it relatively okay, to be honest.
But I mean, before that, so did they try and bring you up in a way that allowed you to separate yourself from the female genitalia, or and try and push you down towards being identifying as a man, or were they completely open and said, it's your choice, you get to a certain age and you can decide whether you want to be male or female?
When I was young, there weren't really many things, because by the time I realised what it actually was, it was just something you couldn't do or say because it didn't exist. It would be like saying I'm a cat. So
I see. So that conversation never happened. They
No.
never pushed it anywhere. They just tried to allow you to sort of fit in as much as you could.
yeah, I mean, the things like I always played with girls' toys and stuff, and you did say, you don't want to play with that. You want to, do you want a car or something? And I just didn't, because I wasn't interested in it. And it was just very tough, really, because you just, all you want to do as a kid is just not be bullied. And particularly when I was at school, I think it's quite different now, but, if I would have said, I'm a girl, I get killed for it.
Absolutely. I mean, okay, so you used writing as a way to put things into perspective, to sort of give yourself some self-healing in some respects, or at least help you cope in the most difficult times.
Yeah, I think it's just everyone has their own creative output. Like, some people will just draw, some people do, poetry, play music, sing, and any of the other arts. And for whatever reason, mine's comedy. I just write comedy. I've always been obsessed with it, always. And so I write comedy. And I don't know why.
Did you have any comedians or writers that you aspired to write like?
I remember watching Newman and Baddiel when I was young, and I was like, it just blew my mind, really.
Yeah, Baddiel was fantastic.
I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I don't know if Lee Evans is, just amazing. I'll always, think that's pretty much the pinnacle as far as I'm concerned. And but pretty much everyone, I see the talent in all of them, even comedians I don't particularly find funny. I like to find out why they do so well. There's a few very, well-known comedians that I just don't find funny, but obviously they are funny.
Yeah, and you're seeing a very warped view of what their comedy was like, or their progression. You're seeing a very polished after 10,000 hours of comedy, sort of, material. So once a comedian gets to a certain point, they have to be as likable as possible and as accessible as possible as well. I mean, so when did you start doing stand-up comedy? What made you want to perform the writing?
Well, the story gets really weird. So I wrote for a long time, years and years and years. I've got a ridiculous amount of material, and I never had the confidence or the balls to go on stage with it. And then my wife said, if you never try, you'll look back and think, I never even tried. And she was right. It's a regret. I would have looked back and thought, I can do it. And but I didn't have the confidence. But then she has an eye disease, and her eye disease took a turn for the worse, and she was told, you may well lose your eyesight. So then we went backpacking for 2.5 years around Asia. So the whole gig thing took a huge delay.
Yeah.
I decided, right, I'm going to do it. Then we ended up backpacking for 2 years. Then we got back last May. And then I had my first gig in June. That was a really long answer to a really easy question, wasn't it?
Okay, so I just wonder, so it was almost like an existential kind of moment where she said that if you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And has she been a big part of the journey with that?
No.
No.
It gets very, very complicated.
Okay.
I married her as a guy.
Okay, interesting.
And it's extremely difficult.
It's difficult. Okay. I understand.
It's not easy, but, we have a weird relationship.
Okay. So talk me through the material you started out doing when you first discovered you wanted to do comedy. What material did you start with?
Like years ago.
Yeah, when you started doing stand-up comedy.
Well, I wrote long form, mostly like long form jokes, and but I put a comment on the Comedy Collective, one of the Facebook comedy forums, and I said, do I need to reference being transgender? Because I never liked the stereotypes, I never wanted to be, like, oh, I bet they're going to bang on about being, gay, Asian, black or transgender. You know, I just didn't want to fit into the stereotype. And but everyone said you've got to reference it. So I wrote some one-liners about being trans, and so they're the ones I started with, and everyone loved them. So now I do some one-liner transy jokes and then other stuff.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I mean, so do you think that's where you want to go for the future, or are you hoping to try out some new bits or try some long form again? Now you're comfortable on stage, now you're comfortable with what you're doing?
Yeah, like in my Edinburgh show, I did, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of transy stuff, and then the rest of the hour was just, you know, random long form. Even now, you know, my club set, it's only like 5 minutes transy stuff, and then it just goes steadily darker. I'm known for like dark jokes, dark material.
Yeah.
I love going really dark because no one expects it from me. And because I come across like this, I come across like, you know, nervous and vulnerable, I get away with absolute murder. So
not literally. Just didn't go on there and murder someone and say, look, this is for the witches.
Yeah. Not yet. Not that people have found out about.
It's all right. One of the things that really strikes me with new comedians and stuff, and it was the same for me, and I'm sure it was the same for you, is that genuine like fear of it going all wrong and then performing to a silent room. Assuming as somebody who appears to lack confidence and self-esteem, how did you begin to give yourself the confidence to get up on stage and talk to a bunch of strangers?
Because I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm not confident. I just sound like this, so, you know, I've had to find a way to use it, but I don't really know. I just thought, if I don't do it, I'll always look back and regret it. So I don't drink. I'm teetotal, and I was so drunk on my first gig. I drank like a bottle and a half of wine, and I was just absolutely like smashed. And weirdly, Tony Slattery from Whose Line Is It Anyway was at that my first ever gig, and he was so complimentary about it. You know, I carried on. Oh, I think that's what he said. That's what people told me. He said, because I can't remember. I lost 3 days of my life. I left my car there and got a lift home and couldn't find my car for 2 days. I had no idea where I parked it. I had a hangover for a week and a half.
A hangover for a week and a half?
I nearly died.
So how much did you actually drink?
Like a bottle and a half of wine. But I don't drink, so I was just...
Oh, so you don't drink usually, and on this occasion you drank your presumably your body weight in alcohol.
Yeah, I was smashed. I had a hangover for about a week and a half.
How was the gig?
Apparently it was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, Tony Slattery was like, oh, you're the best one there, and I'm like, you're going to be really good. And I recorded it, so I've got some like... Yeah, I got really good feedback from it. So I carried on and did the next one and the next one and the next one, and, you know, it's like the journey, you know, you get better.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. So you've only been going for what, a year and a half now?
Yeah, more or less.
When did you start?
I think my first gig was July 2018, so a year and a bit.
Year and a bit, nice. And you took your first Edinburgh show up within that year, which is incredible.
Yeah.
For start. So to mark your year, you did an Edinburgh show, which is really brave. Did you not get warned off that? People try to warn you off it, at least.
But I've written for so long.
Yeah.
So I've got that. I got the writing covered. It was just the performing. And, you know, it was my first year there. And it's the opportunity to do so many gigs. I did about 82 hours on stage over Edinburgh. You know, and I learnt so much.
Yeah.
My show's good. It had good reviews. The Scotsman said, go see this show. You know, they came to see me on my first ever gig. Like, my first hour-long show ever. And then I got reviewed by the Scotsman. The words were amazing. It was like, go see Darcie, go see this show. Darcie could be just what comedy needs. And I was like, God, if they could only come back towards the end of Edinburgh. But it's luck of the draw, really. At least I got a review.
What people forget with Edinburgh is that the most important part of going to Edinburgh is coming back a more accomplished act, especially early on.
Definitely. That's what I wanted. I went there knowing that I needed a lot of stage time.
Yeah.
And I came back I doubled my total ever stage time. I was like a different performer. I was doing about 7 or 8 gigs a day. One day I did 9 gigs one day.
9? Wow.
Yeah, including 2-hour shows. I did my hour show twice, at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And I got what I went for. Next year, my Edinburgh show is going to be really good, because I know I know what I need to do and
Yeah.
what I need to write. And
Have you got a name for your next year's show?
I don't,
Okay.
but
You got an idea what it's going to be about?
yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. So
That sounds really cocky, doesn't it? I shouldn't say stuff like that.
That's fine.
I think it's going to be good.
You think it's going to be good? It's going to be good. It's going to be good. You heard it here first. It's going to be an amazing show. When are you going to start the process of previewing them?
I'm hoping to get up to Brighton in
Yeah.
May, so around then I think.
Brighton. What year? What time is Brighton again?
I think it's in May.
In May. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's quite close. A lot of people start at Leicester Comedy Club,
Yeah,
which is in February, I think.
yeah. I'll polish it all up over Christmas and
Yeah.
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 get
Maybe
something.
you could get on do a couple of 20 minutes at the end of shows and that. That'd
Yeah.
be good. Yeah. Great. So what would you want to talk about this year then? Like, well, sorry, next year for the next year's Edinburgh show.
Well, what I want to do, have like different things because I've got a lot of just stand up without a theme, just like stand up, observational, human, whatnot. But I think this year I want to do like just the transy one, do the journey, the life story,
Yeah.
the difficulties, because I may as well do that once and I've got the material.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like that, mixed with some other things. I'll go off on tangents, but it's gonna be that, like the story, what it's like, and I'll go into like sexism and homophobia and transphobia and all that kind of stuff. Just get the PC one done. Then the next year I'm just gonna start doing like non-themed ones
Yeah. Yeah.
because I want to.
Okay, great. I mean,
Yeah.
so your big event will be something to do with transgender, and you'll get the material, set the material around it, sandwich it with humour. But there'll be a big event that you talk about that sort of leads to, and then you do jokes off of that.
Yeah, because like the story, what it's like. Yeah, just like the big PC, the like the powerful gig
Yeah.
that talks about all the big points in life, and then the one after I'll just do random long form. Join it all together. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on point with the Edinburgh sort of algorithm as well, and so it's something you're comfortable talking about now, and it comes naturally to talk about it because you know so much about it.
Yeah, I don't like talking about it. Strangely,
don't?
no.
Ah.
Like when
You can have a whole month of it.
I know, but before I did, I wrote on the thing on the Comedy Collective where I asked, do I need to reference being trans?
Yeah.
And but I've told you about that, didn't I? A few minutes
Yeah,
ago?
you did. Yeah.
I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be the stereotype. But now I've written them and I'm doing a bit of good for the world, and people are like, people see it, and it's doing good. People are happy, and yeah,
So it's working for you. So you're motivated by it because it's working and it's popular with people.
yeah,
So,
and it's doing a bit of good for the world, and people are realizing we're not freaks or weirdos. We're just normal people that just struggle.
yeah.
So it's
Just-
nice to do that.
Just unique.
Yeah.
Different. That's fine. Okay. So you won a competition, or no, so you got to the final for a competition with the LGBTQ plus comedian of the year.
Yeah,
Was that this year?
yeah.
This year, wow. Okay. So how was that? How did that change your career?
It just gave me a lot of confidence. I was very honoured and proud and lucky, to get into the final. So no, I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Okay.
I don't only do LGBT material. I'm known for dark material as well, and sometimes I miss it out. If I do village halls or older audiences, I just won't talk about transy stuff because they'll come out with pitchforks. What they're like. So
Fire on a stick and things
yeah,
like that.
I'm definitely not a typecast type thing.
No.
But if I'm doing a club set with a youngish audience, then I'll definitely do that material. But it's only 5-10 minutes of transy stuff anyway. Then I just go darker and darker and darker normally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what's your opinion on grouping LGBTQ plus together in one thing? Because now I could be completely wrong here, but it still feels like you've got hetero and then you're separating LGBTQ plus into a different category, whereas it doesn't feel like it's integrating. Why are they placed in one group just because it sounds good in terms of an abbreviation? You know, what eventually, what if you really want to be completely and utterly equal, then we just go through the whole alphabet and just list everyone, and then say, actually no, we're just going to do the alphabet now because we're all the same.
Yeah, I think there's some benefits. I think it's done more good than bad.
Yeah,
by a long shot. You know, it's given exposure and helped people. But I don't know what the future holds, because Sam Smith, he's just, said about, the best new male artist, hasn't he? You read it?
Yes, he's not happy, is he?
So now, is it the Brit Awards? I don't know what it is. They're saying, we're going to get rid of best male, best female artist and just have best artist. So, things are changing like that. So I don't know what the future holds, but it moves very quickly. But I think so far it's been very advantageous.
And this worked for you in comedy?
Yeah. The only people it doesn't work for is straight white guys until they do the straight white guy comedian of the year, which isn't a bad idea, is it?
No, well, yeah, just segregate us, just us than every other fucker. Yeah, it's not right. It's like, what I don't think is right. I don't think it's right to completely like sideline an entire people because they've had it easy for 40 or 50 years, But at the same time, I think the arrogance to think that, oh no, I can't give up my Saturday gig for somebody who's not me. There's an element of some are well established, or comedians that have been around for 20 odd years, whatever, are now been kicked off their pedestal, and they're not happy about it. You can understand why they wouldn't be happy about it, but then this should have been equal opportunity all the way along that, and it's just we need to go so far to the left to offset the balance of the really far right, and eventually, I've said this on the podcast numerous times, eventually we'll end up somewhere in the middle, and we won't even, it's like booking this conversation with you today, like none of those things crossed my mind. I thought about it this morning briefly, but it wasn't why we're talking now. It was just a person that's got a great story and is a great comedian, and it shouldn't even come into the picture. But we need to scrutinise those that aren't booking, trans on gigs, aren't booking ethnic minorities on gigs. You need to, but eventually, I hope we just have a great bill of comedians, and some of them just happen to be, LGBTQ+, for example.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a big argument to have that. I will first of all say that at the moment people seem to think that being prejudiced against white guys is acceptable. It's everywhere in social media. White guys this, white guys that. It's like, well, you change the word white for black, it suddenly becomes extremely racist. I don't know. People seem to think it's okay to marginalise white people because they've had it so easy, and I'm like, well, two wrongs don't really make a right, do they? It does annoy me a little bit.
No, but I can't even begin to understand the angle, the frustration that someone would feel from being oppressed for so many years, or their family history being oppressed for so many years. And so it's a really difficult one to cover, really, because whilst I don't think it's good to spread hate or to be hateful or to be angry or blame people that haven't really done anything, like from my example, for me personally, I can speak for myself, I haven't done anything wrong, but I am straight and I am white, and so I am then placed in that category. But I do understand and I empathise with people that do challenge it, and they should challenge it, and I don't necessarily agree with the way that it's being done, but I think it's important that it is being done, and I think it's better that it's done in the way it is being done than not being done at all.
Yeah, I could argue both points of positive discrimination.
Yeah,
I could argue, well, positive discrimination gives the the vulnerable, less what do you call them, people represented, people the stage what they wouldn't otherwise have. So gives them the spotlight. People see them and know that they're there. But on the other hand, you're literally basing a decision on someone's sexuality, gender, or a race. Like, well, that's just blatant prejudice, isn't it? I mean, you can't, if you're putting someone on stage simply because they identify as a woman or they're gay or the colour of their skin. It's like, well, that's everything we've always been told is wrong. But at the same time, are you just going to have, you know, an entire industry full of white guys and like just no women or no, you know, people of colour? You know, someone has to address the balance, or do they? I don't know. You can argue both points. I know a couple of clubs that won't hire anyone on other things other than skill and talent. You know, they won't do it. They just say, I don't care if you're a woman or a man or whatever. If you're good, we'll put you on stage. But other clubs, you know, will go out of the way to put women on. I think somewhere in the middle's fine. I think now it's important, you know, to put women in. Because the thing is, women like to see women is good. You know, women are good. And this horrible old stereotype that women aren't funny and they just talk about periods. Well, obviously not me. But, you know, they don't... you know, women are funny. And, you know, you have to put them on stage, you know, to get rid of that stereotype.
Do it. I mean, yeah, it is difficult for promoters, and there's a difference between understanding your audience and what would go well. You know, having, you know, if you're trying to book in the interest of the audience, and it happens to be like a right-wing audience that isn't going to accept certain people, then their hands are tied in that sense, I guess. Otherwise, they'll lose clientele. But at the same time, I don't think there's an excuse. There are statistically less women on these forums, on the Collective, on Open Comedy, all these different platforms that people use to book gigs. There are statistically less, but that doesn't mean that it's just lazy promoting if you just accept the first 10 people that apply to a gig, and they just happen to be all men, and you just accept them because it's easy and you're taking the shortcut. Fine, but then you're going to get scrutinised, and you have to accept, if you're not going to be, you know, equal opportunity, you're going to be scrutinised, and it's up to you whether you can accept that. And if you don't, then that's your problem.
Yeah, but I think it's in every, you know, field and kind of job. The BBC are famous for it.
Yeah, big time, big time.
So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I can argue both points, but you know, I obviously benefit from it. So
ride that wave as long as you can.
I'm a bit hypocritical, you know. but people are. You know, if you say you're not, you're lying. You know.
Yeah. I mean, no one. I don't think anyone's saying there shouldn't be all women bills or there shouldn't be positive discrimination. It's good that it's there. All I'm saying is that we shouldn't need it. We should not need positive discrimination because it shouldn't even be spoken about. It should just be you're there on merit. You're there. You're a fantastic comedian, and that's it.
I completely agree. I think that's where the future is going, because it always annoyed me the BBC did that thing, and then, you know, even in comedy, you know, I'm like, well, yeah, if you're funny, you're funny. What does it matter? Because, you know, when you grow up, you're told skin colour doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter, sexuality doesn't matter, and it's like, well, hold on a second. The entire industry is just completely obsessed with it mattering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, you're obsessed with this existing, and at the same time you're telling me it doesn't exist. But I don't know. I say I'm somewhere in the middle. I think it's of benefit now. Maybe in the future it won't be. But
hopefully in the future we wouldn't be having to have this conversation. No, we don't have to have this conversation, but it comes up because it needs to come up. We need to talk about it. The more people that are talking about it, the better, because that's how attitudes are changed. You know, who knows? Do you feel that if you were born in the 2000s, that your life would have been easier identifying as a transgender woman?
Yeah, a million times easier.
So how much different do you feel as a person now than you did growing up, not really knowing who you can be?
It's like just turning a light switch on.
Okay.
I can't describe it any other way than that, because I like women as well.
Yeah.
So it was very confusing growing up. I'm like, well, hold on a second. How can I like women and be a woman with the wrong body? It's like, it just doesn't exist, you know. There's something wrong with me. And then, because you just think it can't be, and then you realise that there's tens of thousands of similar people. because sexuality and gender are two completely different things. It's just a quirk.
A quirk.
I'm not supposed to use that word.
Are you not?
No, I got told off for it. A quirk is a bad thing.
Is it?
It's an anomaly. God, no, that's even worse. It's a random thing that happens in nature. Some people...
Right, I see.
Some people are gay, some people are whatever. Some people are born with the wrong brains. Whatever.
This is why I avoid being vocal or hard-hitting on social media, because I'd need an assistant to just check all the developments. Like person of colour to a person of colour is regarded as racist because they see it as no different to coloured, but the coloured has been condemned, and so no one really knows what to say. I don't think it's that bad to, if someone is something, then that's it. If you can be honest about things. We're too scared in Britain. We're too scared to talk about it. We're too scared to say the wrong thing. I've had it when I've interviewed comedians. I was speaking to, I think it was Sadia Azmat, and there was something that I asked, and I stumbled on the question because I didn't know how to ask it without offending. And she's the least likely person to be offended by anything, and she thought it was stupid that I was even trying to query myself on it. And so it's we're too scared. We should just be honest with it. It's having these, you going up on stage and talking about it shouldn't be any different to a white guy going on and talking about Dayton and his small cock. It's what's the difference?
There isn't. It's all that this woke culture, PC culture, is destroying comedy in the world. Really, because you can't say anything. It's like the Reformation. You can't say a single thing without someone saying something. It's so bad. And I do really dark comedy as well, but I think I'd get away with it because I'm trans, but I think if other people said it. But I don't like it because, comedy's comedy, and people are only offended when it affects them. If you make fat jokes, I'll laugh all day. You make a trans joke, I'll see above it, but I'd be offended because it affects me.
Yeah.
If I banged along about, a million other everything and started banging on about straight white guys, it's like, well, hold on, that's me. So people are only offended by their own stuff, but I can't stand woke culture and PC culture. They can all fuck off.
That's recorded.
Good. Snowflakes should be clumped together and melted with piss.
Yeah.
Which is my most brutal, awful, terrible. That doesn't.
We're not inciting violence, but if you're able to round up a load of snowflakes, then we'll happily piss on them. And put it on TV.
Because they just offended. It's the outrage culture. They just I'm whiter than white. I'm the most virtue signalling motherfucker. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, do what you want, yeah.
They just, motherfucker, I hate them. Because they just hold on a second, what you're doing is limiting free speech. Yes, there's limits. Comedy's being destroyed because you can't say anything.
Yeah, I know it is. But I do think that the professionals at the top of the game, their material hasn't changed.
It's not. That's the weird thing.
Yeah,
it's only lower down. You can't say anything.
What do you think to Jo Brand that time? It was quite a while ago now when she supposedly incited violence with replaced that the milkshake with battery acid. I
thought it was a sloppy thing to say because we live in a culture where someone would pick that up. All the right wing nutters that support that lovely joyous person.
Yeah, it begins with F.
Fuckhead, yeah. Fucking should have been a brick.
So I've thrown her off now.
Yeah,
just by using the great term fuckhead.
Fuckhead.
It feels good, doesn't it?
It does actually.
All right, the next 5 minutes of this conversation is going to be fuckhead. Oh yeah.
Fuckhead.
Brilliant. All right, cool, Karen.
I thought she shouldn't have done it. It was a bit sloppy, but it was just comedy, but only because in the culture we live in, she should have thought they're going to get me for it. But it was great publicity for her, so there's that.
Yeah. It's not as if it's ended her career. She's still one of the best female comedians out there, and she always will be. Okay. So how much further do you think the comedy collective and society and things need to go to make you feel like you are fully comfortable and who you are?
I don't think that's society. I think that's my own demons.
Okay, so it's your own baggage that you're carrying.
Yeah, it gets very dark because, you always question yourself. You have imposter syndrome. but it just goes into the whole gender thing. But yeah, I don't have periods. I'll never be pregnant. I don't suffer physically, and women do suffer more physically. You know, they just.
Yeah.
And
fucking hell. The closest a man will ever get to experiencing the pain that a female experiences is if he gets kidney stones.
Yeah.
That's about the closest it gets. That's it.
And it's sad, you know. So I get imposter syndrome. I think I'm a real. And I'm like, well, I am real because I know I'm a woman, and it's an awful thing to live with being trans. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But comedy's been very good for me. It's very cathartic, you know, going on stage and banging on about it. And so yeah, I think everything's fine. I'm lucky to be alive in this time.
Definitely.
When I'm allowed to exist.
What do you want to get out of the next year in terms of comedy?
I would like to perform at all the big clubs. All of them. I'd like to progress. And then I'd like to do an Edinburgh show. That'd be good. I'd just like to jump to the next level, you know, because I do well. My club set, you know, it does really well. And I think because I've done well quite quickly, people find it difficult to know. They look like, well, you know, you've only been going for like a year and 4 months, you know, how good can you be? So it's quite difficult to make the jump, you know. So I'm doing, I'd say mostly paid spots now, but to make, you know, the big leap to the big clubs.
Yeah.
You know, when they saw you 8 months ago and you weren't all that good. You know, to say, well, look, it just clicked one day, which it did.
Yeah.
You know.
So tell me about that. So you'd been going through supposedly a time where you're sort of questioning yourself whether you're good enough or not. And then you got a gig. You did a gig that changed it all for you.
It was in, about, when would it have been? After about a year, in July, I was just like, you know, I can smash, like if something goes wrong, I'll work around it and I'll still do well. And that was kind of the revelation moment when I thought, I don't just have to follow the set. You know, if it goes off script, I can still deal with it.
Yeah.
Or hecklers, and I'll just destroy them. And I thought, yeah, I can handle this like any audience. And then, but when it really clicked was in Edinburgh, I was just like, yeah, nothing can get me. You know, I'll always turn it round. And I thought that's pretty much the only skill I think you really, really need is the ability to
adapt.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to come across it. I don't come across as cocky, do I?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, good.
If you think you're just coming across as cocky, give me a message, all right? If I don't receive any messages, then I'll take it that you haven't.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I much prefer talking myself down.
Well, if you want to see her talk herself down, go and see her at her latest gigs and go and watch her.
Yeah.
And that way you can see her talk herself down. This is just a preview to the real Darcie Silver we're talking about now. But
it's good. Come and see me. It's funny.
So where can people follow you and go and see you?
I have a Facebook page or two. I put gigs on there. I have a website as well because I wrote a book about the backpacking, but not bought it, but never mind.
What was that called?
Backpacking into Darkness.
Okay, so people can buy it. So people can go onto your website. I think it's darciesilver.com.
Yeah.
And that's an IE for Darcie Silver.
Yeah.
And you can buy the book there, can you?
Yeah, because it was two lesbians, one transgender, the other one's going blind, backpacking around the world, but from really weird places like out Mongolia to North Korea, to like just the most bizarre things ever happened.
Buy it.
It's
Buy
funny.
It. What are your Twitter handles and social media handles?
At Darcie Silver, and Facebook is Darcie Silver Comedian, with Darcie with an IE. I know I'm always putting funny stuff on Facebook. I wish you could put longer stuff on Twitter.
Oh yeah, you only get something like 240
It's
characters.
stupid. It's just like, well, no, I need more than that to make it funny.
They did increase it from 140, didn't they, to 240?
Should make it 940.
940.
Yeah.
God, no one's going to read that. Twitter's one of those things that just is a place to put things on, not to read things from. I find you just put something on there because I want to put it on there and don't really care if someone sees it or not.
I put a lot on Facebook.
So you've been paid up and down the country for comedy.
Yes.
You've conquered Britain. You still have got a few other things to achieve in England, but you're venturing out of England.
Yeah, I'm in Berlin on the last week of November. I have 3 or 4 gigs. So that'll be nice to go over there and, strut my stuff. See how that goes. But yeah, the European scene's quite big at the moment, so I'm looking, to go away here and there.
Would you venture out any further than that? Are you thinking about doing America at all, or?
Yeah, as long as they don't lynch me and shoot me, then,
Yeah, it depends where you go. Los Angeles is pretty woke, I think.
Yeah. So that'd be nice. I'd love to do the Australian Fringe one year.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to do that.
Melbourne Festival, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Darcie. All the information about how you can follow Darcie and go onto the website, all of that stuff will be in the show notes. But check her out, she's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Darcie.
Thank you very much.